I was unsure if I would ever make another video on this account. I thought I was pretty much done doing these LRMania podcasts, and I just wanted to be a fan and enjoy it. But after this news, I just felt so compelled to post this on my channel. I needed to get my thoughts out there because words can't express how shocked and sad I am to hear the horrible news that Windham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt, aka The Fiend, tragically passed away today on August 24th, 2023. This is horrible news. Just shocking. I can't believe this happened. I was not expecting this whatsoever. He's been off TV since January. I think the last match he had was the Royal Rumble. He was building up to a program with Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania 39 earlier this year, but he was taken off TV unexpectedly, and I guess it's reported now that he had an illness. But from what I've read is he was actually recovering from his illness, and he was getting ready to be cleared again and to get back in the ring. And out of nowhere, this happens. He passes away. It's unexpectedly. I saw Triple H's tweet. That's where I first got the news. And I was shocked. I didn't want to believe it. I was just hoping someone hacked into Triple H's Twitter account and posted this. There's some people who have sick humor. They think death is funny. I was hoping something like that was the case. And for a while, I didn't hear any other wrestler tweet about it, so I was thinking maybe this is a hoax. Then I saw The Rock's tweet, in which he did a full tweet talking about his memories of Bray Wyatt. He posted a photo with him and Bray at WrestleMania 32. And after that, I thought, it's pretty much for real. I've seen numerous other tweets from many different wrestlers who've now tweeted about this. It's obviously true now, and it's a horrible tragedy. It's terrible. This is someone who was only 36 years old, and he had a family. He had many kids. He was, of course, married to JoJo, and he was previously married to another woman who he had, I think, 3 kids with, and he had another kid with JoJo. And from what I've heard, I'm not sure if this is true, she was pregnant, and they were going to expect another child. So this is just horrible news. This is terrible. His father was the IRS, Mike Rotunda. Is, of course, his younger brother, Bo Dallas, who obviously didn't have the same success as Bray did, but Bo was Uncle Howdy, so he did return during the feud, or the gimmick they were doing this past year. They were feuding, and or I believe they were getting ready to have a match together. You can't expect something like this to happen. It reminds me so much of what happened to Brody Lee, also known as Luke Harper, John Huber, his real name, a few years ago, who was, of course, Bray's best friend in real life. Windham was devastated by the death of his friend John. I remember he wrote a very lengthy Instagram post remembering his friend. They were best friends together. I remember hearing sort of how Bray would help out with Luke or Brody, his family. And I remember when Bray Wyatt made his return last year in October, he spoke about how 2 people in his life left him. And I knew for sure, obviously, one was Brody Lee, Luke Harper, who he was a close friend. I'm not sure what the other name was, and he also mentioned something in his personal life. I'm not sure if he was talking about his illness. We don't know what happened to Bray. We're going to find out eventually. It'll come out. We don't know right now. It's only been an hour or so, or almost 2 hours now, since Triple H posted that tweet, which has shocked everyone. You see all the tributes coming in. It was just yesterday when we found out Terry Funk passed away, which was horrible as well. Terry Funk, legend. That was so sad to hear that as well. And I don't want people to get the wrong impression that I'm making a video for Bray but not Terry. It's just Bray was on TV. He was on TV. He was a wrestler, still active on the main roster. He was only 36 years old. Terry, of course, has a much bigger contribution to the business. There's no disrespect to Bray to say that, but Terry is an all-time legend. But he was 79 years old, and I wanted to pay tribute to him as well here. But I'm just floored by this news. I'm still trying to process it, but all we can say now is we're going to miss this guy. His character, one of the smartest guys in the wrestling business. I've heard this over and over again. Got a great mind. Heavily inspired by horror films, as you can certainly tell, with the Fiend character especially. I would like to go back through his career, give a brief rundown, some of my favorite memories of Bray. I remember 10 years ago now, since he debuted with the Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, of course. Two of them have now passed on. The Wyatt family debuted. They were having all these promos before. And they were really cool because you would never see gimmicks like that at that time. They were very much a throwback. You would see them in the backyards, and they were very much a backwoods kind of gimmick. And Bray was this preacher type or this cult leader, and his two followers were Harper and Rowan. And they made their debut. They attacked Kane. It was very memorable. Bray had been part of the WWE before that. He was Husky Harris. You ask people now, those idiot fans chanted Husky Harris when he first debuted. They would be cheering for Bray after they saw what he was capable of and how good of a star he was and how great of an act it was. It was one of the best characters in WWE history. Wasn't great all the way through, no. I mean, there were parts of his career where he got really stale. But he did reinvent himself numerous times, and throughout his career there were certainly gaps and times appeared in which he missed TV, but in those times he always reinvented himself and came back, I thought, as a better character. So to go when he started off, the Wyatt family comes in, they feud with Kane, and he feuds with Daniel Bryan after that, and then he has a good feud, I thought, with John Cena. And that entrance was something else at WrestleMania with the voodoo. I mean, his first entrance when he first came out was awesome too. But that WrestleMania 30 voodoo entrance was awesome. And the Bray Wyatt entrance became its own character in a way. Fans would always have their lights out and wave it when Bray would come out. He would sit in a rocking chair and blow out the lamp. And I thought also, I wanted to mention, before he'd come out, he'd cut a promo or mini promo on the city. He would say what the city was. For example, at WrestleMania, he said, "New Orleans, we're here," before blowing out the lantern. I thought that was so cool. And it added so much that he did that before. And the Wyatt family was really over. The feud with John Cena was great. Also, the feud with The Shield was awesome. Those matches are just great. Probably some of the best of Bray's career, at least as the Wyatt family. Then the feud with Cena, I really thought he should have beat John Cena at WrestleMania 30. I think that hurt him. I don't think he ever really recovered his character. I think if he won that match, he would have had more success early on. But I understood Cena was still the top guy at that time. Didn't want to have him lose. I felt Bray should have won that match. I really think at WrestleMania 30, Bray should have won. Then, later they broke up the Wyatt family later that year. And this character got stale, to be honest, it really did. Then he went into a big feud with The Undertaker. And at WrestleMania 31, they had a match. Undertaker won. It was pretty obvious he would win. And it was good for Bray to be in a match like that with The Undertaker. But, again, another loss at WrestleMania didn't help him. He kept, he never really could get over the hump for a bit. And really in 2015 is when he got stale. Then they put him back with Luke Harper. They feuded with The Shield for a bit. At that time, I think Harper got hurt again, and Bray was with Rowan, and then they had Strowman there, and WrestleMania 32, he had that segment with The Rock, where basically the Wyatt family was embarrassed with both The Rock and John Cena. He would still kind of float for a while, not really doing much his character. Then he had, I thought, the first real revival of his career. He had multiple times this happened in his career, but when they put Randy Orton with the Wyatt family, I thought that was great. I thought Randy, Bray, and Luke, because Braun had broken away by then, and I think Rowan was hurt, but those three together, Bray, Luke, Randy, were awesome. They were a great team. They were a great faction. The three of them together were excellent. Randy did really well with the Wyatt family. I really enjoyed his work with them. I thought that was just a great program. And then they had Randy turn, and I felt like that set up Bray and Randy in a feud, and Bray would actually win the Elimination Chamber. So he won his first title at that time. First time he won the WWE Championship. I felt that his title reign was way too short. He won at Elimination Chamber and lost it like a month or two later to Randy Orton at WrestleMania 33. That was the worst loss of his career. That was a devastating loss for Bray Wyatt. It really hurt Bray. That was his worst loss, WrestleMania 33 to Randy. He didn't recover again, and he got stale, and it was like he would always get really hot. He'd have WrestleMania 30, he was red hot, lost to John Cena, got stale. 31, he kind of reinvented himself. He was getting over again, then lost The Undertaker, and then the 33 loss to Randy was awful for Bray. His character really got stale, did nothing for most of 2017, would lose to Finn Balor. Then he had the feud with Matt Hardy, and I thought that helped him a bit. They created the tag team, and they had the final deletion match. As a team, they were okay, but again, it fizzled out. And this is when we didn't see Bray for a while after this. And I was thinking, man, is this it for his character? And then he once again revives his character, gets new life, and reinvents himself a third time. This was the beginning of Bray Wyatt, the Firefly Funhouse, and The Fiend, kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde character. The Firefly Funhouse was some of the most entertaining stuff in WWE in 2019. When it first came on, it was the night after WrestleMania 35, which Bray didn't appear. I believe the previous year, 34, he appeared once in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, so he wasn't doing anything for a while. But when the Firefly Funhouse came on, I had no idea what was going on. But I didn't even realize that's Bray Wyatt. As it kept going on, it became the best thing on Raw every week. Everyone loved the Firefly Funhouse. Bray was so entertaining with all those puppets. When he'd always crushed the one with the hammer. All those things were so memorable. Then he would become the Fiend, and at SummerSlam in 2019, feud with Finn Balor, and that's when we saw the Fiend. And there's entrance of Bray Wyatt. His entrance when he first came in was legendary. We first saw it as Bray, but as the Fiend, his entrance was something out of this world. I think it's one of the coolest entrances in WWE history. That first time we saw the Fiend at SummerSlam, he came out with a lamp of the old Bray Wyatt, and it's like Bray's head in a lamp. It looks so cool. And we saw the Fiend with the mask, and he had a different look to him. He looked much bigger, much more muscular, and he was just a different competitor. And Bray as the Fiend was awesome. The Fiend was great. He comes in, crushes Finn, and he feuds at Seth. They had that terrible Hell in a Cell, but then in Saudi Arabia, the Fiend wins the title. And that was a great moment. His second title reign. Then the Fiend loses to Goldberg, which destroyed his character again. But that title reign was really good. But that he had a great feud with Daniel Bryan at that time as well. But then the loss to Goldberg, oh, that was so devastating to the Fiend. That was awful. So after that horrible loss, he goes to feud with John Cena. And it was okay. They had the Firefly Funhouse at WrestleMania 36 during COVID, so it was basically a cinematic match. It was entertaining. It was something really different. It was very interesting. It was something Bray would come up with because he's such a creative guy. I really liked it, actually, but it was, probably they changed it, of course, because of COVID. And I'm sure even if they had a match at WrestleMania 36, Bray was going to win. After that, The Fiend in that year, in 2020, he goes on to feud with Braun Strowman, and they had multiple matches. They had the Swamp match, which, of course, Bray, I'm sure, came up with a whole bunch of things there. He's very creative. Then he beats Braun at SummerSlam to win the third title. But then the next week, he lost to in a triple threat match with Braun and Roman. Of course, that was when Roman first began his historic title reign that he's still on to this day at Payback. And after that, The Fiend kind of fizzled out for a bit. And I know he had a horrible event in his personal life that really crushed The Fiend. But he would feud with Randy Orton again, and they took him off TV after he was burned alive, kayfabe, at TLC. And that was going to write him off for a bit. And later, Luke Harper, Brody Lee passed away, real name John Huber. Horrible things happened. I know Bray personally was devastated by it. He wrote that Instagram post I mentioned, and we didn't see him for a while, and there was rumors that the loss was really hard on him, and it was such a sad story when that happened. So he's gone for a while, and he comes back after that horrible tragedy. His best friend passed, but he comes back. He feuds with Randy. He's with Alexa Bliss at this time. I forgot to mention that. Him and Alexa, I thought, were a good combination. But Alexa does it, and Alexa turns on him at WrestleMania 37. He loses to Randy again after he had this spectacular entrance, and that was it for The Fiend. We didn't see him again, and he was released later in 2021, and he was gone for a year and a half. He never came back. Never did any wrestling, but in October of 2022, he makes his big return at Extreme Rules, one of the coolest returns they've seen in a while. It was done really well. Back as The Fiend, and had people in the audience dressed up in Fiend masks, which, oh man, makes me so sad, because I remember all the excitement when he came back, and it was such a memorable return. And for it to happen, and less than a year later, he's dead, it's something you don't think about. He went on to feud with LA Knight. He beat him at the Royal Rumble in a lights out match, an undo lights out match. I know the match was poorly received, but that would be the last time we'd see him. And he even did a memorable press conference at the Royal Rumble when he would address critics of his character. I thought he did really well. He conducted himself really well there. And he was going to feud with Bobby Lashley and have a match with him at WrestleMania 39, and the match fell through due to his illness. We didn't hear what it was. We thought he was coming back, and there was rumors that he was getting better. Now this happens out of nowhere. It's shocking. He passes away. I hope I did a good enough recap for his career, and thinking about it, because it was one of the best characters in WWE history. People compared him to The Undertaker at Raw this past year. The show at Raw, Undertaker gave him a tribute. He basically was telling him to carry the torch. We don't know what he exactly said, but I'm sure it was along those lines. As a dark gimmick, him and Undertaker shared an exchange in the ring at the 30-year anniversary of Raw. And I'm sure that was a big moment for Bray. And, we just haven't seen him since. It's a horrible story, horrible tragedy, horrible news. It's really sad. You just feel so bad for this guy. You feel so bad for his family. He had a big wrestling family. His dad was the IRS. It was always what he did. He had so creative, such a creative guy. That's what I'm going to remember about him. Really liked horror movies. I can tell he's a big horror movie fan as myself. Obviously inspired his gimmick, both as Bray Wyatt and as The Fiend. Really creative. Such a great character. Such a brilliant mind. Such a horrible story. A 36-year-old man passes away, a family man. That's... You can't express how sad that is. So all I can say is Windham Rotunda, rest in peace. We will never forget Bray Wyatt or The Fiend when they made their entrance. And to pay tribute to him, if you want to, how I'm going to do it, listen to one of his theme songs. There's the Bray Wyatt song, Live in Fear, which is great, but also The Fiend's theme song, which I think is great as well. That's how I plan to tribute to him right now. We're going to miss Bray Wyatt. We're going to miss seeing him on our screens. If you ever get to go to a live event, you were really lucky if you got to go to one to see his entrance, because it was really something special. We're going to miss him. Rest in peace, Windham Rotunda.